Hey, what's up? GW coming to you live. Hey, today I'm going to review Predator 2. I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about the film. If you guys haven't seen it, it's pretty cool. There's a lot of cool things that didn't make it into the film, and I'm going to cover that too. But believe it or not, this was directed by a 29-year-old male. All right? It was directed by Stephen Hopkins. Stephen Hopkins was 29 at the time, and his vision for this was just crazy. I was doing some reading on Wikipedia, which you can find all this stuff, but I know some of you guys don't want to go through the trouble to do that. But the original idea for Predator 2, and this is going to blow your mind, and I didn't even know this, and I know a lot about film, was the fact that in the first movie, the major star was Arnold Schwarzenegger. He played Lieutenant Dutch Schaefer. He was going to re-team with Patrick Swayze in this one to hunt the Predator in L.A. This one is set in L.A., by the way. Of course, you guys know that by the sentence I just said. Um, but this thing was originally given an NC-17 for violence. Stephen Hopkins wanted to go all out, make it bloody and gory in your face, and this thing, believe it or not, open to mostly negative reviews. It was put out by 20th Century Fox, and it was number 4 on the top 10 movie countdown of that year, which was. I don't want to say it's not 2004. Well, the year that it's directed or the year it came out is so tiny I can't read. But I will tell you this: it came out in the same year that Rocky 4 came out, or Rocky 5, because we went to the theater to see Rocky 5, and at the same time Rocky 5 was open, Predator 2 was opening too. So, you know. But what makes this film interesting is that Patrick Swayze and Arnold Schwarzenegger are not in this film. This is actually a pretty well star-studded cast. You have Danny Glover playing Police Lieutenant Mike Harrigan. You have Gary Busey in here. You have the late Morton Downey Jr. in here. You have Ruben Blades in here. And returning as the Predator is Kevin Peter Hall. Now, originally I told you in the first film that the Predator role was going to go to Jean-Claude Van Damme, but he could not fit into the costume, and there was some other technical difficulties, filming schedules, whatever. However, this film I think is more entertaining than the first, although if you read the reviews on this film from the New York Post to Siskel and Ebert actually gave it a 2-star rating. They said it's an ugly, overpowering alien fantasy. Believe that. Now, it has gained a cult following over the years, and it did throw in some cool things, especially a twist ending. So, you learn a lot of stuff about the Predator in this film, too. Like in the first film, you just knew he hunt by thermal vision, he could turn himself invisible, and he could bleed. And he did take the trophies of the creatures he killed. However, in this film, you learn a couple things. Like, one, the Predator will not kill a pregnant woman. You guys know that? So he's not savage. He lives by some morality code. So you learn that. This film is also set in LA, gang warfare LA. Okay, the cops are fighting the drug cartels in this film, and it's a backdrop to the Predator hunting. Seems like the Predator likes to come down anytime there's warfare. He can do his business and get out with people not noticing because they're too busy, blasting each other. Same within the jungle in the first film. The first film, there was a military rescue mission going on, and he decided to drop down into the war-torn jungles and do his thing and leave. I don't know if this video this one is out of print or not, but I suggest if you can pick it up, it's very, very cool. Um, the Predator in this film, played by Kevin Peter Hall, there's two versions of it. Or there's one version of it, I'm sorry. Which is cool. But you also learn the Predator has new weapons. Like in the first film, you kind of saw the shoulder cannon. Excuse me, you saw the Predator vision. I don't think you saw anything else. This one, a spear. He gets a spear and he gets a glaive thing that can slice through meat. In fact, there's a very cool sequence that's taking place in the slaughterhouse where Gary Busey's character and his boys think they can trap the Predator. In that sequence, though, too, they make reference to the first film. So apparently, he is on him and his group are on a mission to capture the Predator, to study it. And they do reference the first film, which is kind of a neat little callback. I have read the book of this too, the novel that was put out. There's more callbacks to the first film that were actually cut from this film. But he thinks he can trap the Predator. Very cool sequence where the Predator throws that glaive frisbee thing around, slices through, and Gary Busey ultimately does not make it out of this film alive. Also in this film is the late Bill Paxton. Bill Paxton and Maria Conchita Alonso. They play Lieutenant Mike Harrigan's sidekicks in this film. And Robert Davi's actually in here too, guys. Robert Davi usually plays these seedy roles, detective roles. Most notably, he's been on a lot of stuff, but horror fans will remember him from Maniac Cop 3. Very, very cool movie, which he was on trying to put the Maniac Cop down for good. Very, very bloody, gory flick. I suggest you guys check it out if you haven't seen the Maniac Cop series. The first one and second one are great. The third one came out with mixed reviews. But anyway, we're not talking about that. We're talking about Predator 2. So, the Predator creature also was created by Stan Winston. Stan Winston was a very, very famous, or is a very famous, I don't know if he passed away, very, very famous creature creator. He designed masks for so many films, so many horror films, I can't even go into name. And also fantasy films as well. So yeah, I mentioned the book here a minute ago was put out by Jove Books. Very, very cool. Like I said, it went into way more detail. This story is pretty neat because it goes a little bit deeper into the Predator mythology than the other ones, as I told you, a twist ending. But considering the film has been out since 2004 on DVD, if you guys haven't seen it, I will reveal the twist ending because, like I said, it's not coming out tomorrow, so I don't have to worry about it. The end of the film really got fans' attention. If you followed the two Predator movies, then you were kind of itching for a third film. At the end of the film, there's a scene at the very end where Danny Glover's character, Mike Harrigan, chases the Predator back onto the mothership and kills them. And as soon as he kills them, all these Predators come out of this ship, right? And they hand Danny Glover a pistol from the 1800s, which shows you that the Predators have been here and been hunting us since almost the beginning of time. Pretty neat, huh? So after Harrigan stumbles out of the alien spacecraft, one of the other guys, I forget the character, says, are they coming back? Because we need to get them. And Danny Glover's character, Mike Harrigan, looks at him and goes, "Don't worry, you'll get your chance." Hinting at a third film. Let's figure that out. Sorry, I didn't sleep well. I just got to get the coffee to me. but this one's more action oriented, as the first one was pretty good on action. It was directed by, like I said, John McTiernan, I think. But this DVD is pretty cool. It has documentaries. The Hunter and Hunted goes into the whole production of the Predator movie, Predator 2. Behind the scenes featurette, which I believe, I could be wrong, aired on HBO. HBO, on a side note here, guys, used to have big movies that would premiere like on Mondays, Fridays, and Wednesdays, right? So they would do these things. They would do these featurettes, which were 5 or 10 minutes long. They would air them, throughout the course of the week before they aired the movie. I think they did this one, Ghostbusters, Lethal Weapon, anything really big. They had a featurette. That was their thing. So you'd watch the featurette and be like, hey, cool, The international featurette, because this thing, as always, seems like overseas movies do either okay or very shitty. Creating the Ultimate Predator, or the Ultimate Hunter, that was pretty much the origin of the Predator and how he evolved from the first film. Predator 2 Evolutions, that's the special effects. Now, there is a ton of special effects in here, guys. Predator 2 Weapons of Choice. That is actually a spotlight on the Predator's weapons. They go over the creation of it. They tell you, why they implemented it and what's going on. Promotional gallery. That's the stuff that I like, because that's the stuff that they put out. And sometimes when you put out promotional materials such as trailers or video clips or pictures, you never see them in the actual production, which is kind of neat to see that. So like I said, trailers and TV spots. And then you have a thing called Hardcore, full-length mock news interviews from the film. That's right. Because Morton Downey Jr., I believe, plays a character called Tony Pope. I'm not sure, because it's been a while. But they have the full-length mock news interviews of the gang warfare, the murder scenes, the Predator attacks, the whole 9 yards in here. And Morton Downey Jr., despite what you might think of him, is very, very cool in this film. And like I said, this film is also starring Ruben Blades. Yeah. So overall, if you watch these two back to back, and you kind of get a sense of, if they made a third movie, what would happen. Now, they eventually, as I said, came back and made Predators with Adrian Brody. And that film was sort of a rehash of the first one, where they're on the actual Predator homeworld, I believe. As far as gore goes, I mean, this one amps up from the first film dramatically. There is all kinds of stuff in here. I believe there is actually a scene in here toward the end of the movie where the Predator boards a subway and just starts massacring people. And it's done well, not like that stupid Texas Chainsaw Massacre that we got a few years ago where Leatherface hacks up a bus full of kids. It's just, that was stupid. This was pretty entertaining. And being set in LA, you could do a lot of things with the Predator. Now, Stephen Hopkins' original version was to have a Predator mothership come in, and it was going to be something out of a Star Wars movie, but budgets and technical restraints sort of hindered that idea. So, can't do that. Now, in the first film, too, what's interesting, as you put a mercenary against an alien, in this film you have a hardened cop in the film. So it seems like the Predator, the hero against the Predator, is always somebody that's going to be, someone who's battle hardened. You have Commando, Crack Commando has seen anything. Now you have a cop that has seen anything on the gritty streets of LA going up against the alien. Danny Glover's performance in this, guys, is pretty much awesome. I'm not going to lie. It's almost better than Schwarzenegger. There's also another callback in the film to the first film, where anytime the Predator's mask gets knocked off or taken off, there's one phrase that's uttered, and it carries on through the first two movies. I don't remember if it's in Predators or not, but I can tell you it's the same line repeated, and it just makes you go, cool. Um, there is a very, very awesome scene where a Predator wipes out a drug dealer called King Willie. That scene is done very, very cool. Um, Very short and very to the point. It because the King Willie, the drug dealer, thinks that he can just basically do whatever he wants in L.A. He's the main drug dealer. He gets wiped out pretty quick. Um, the firefights in this are incredible. Um, they're more intense than they were in the first film. Like I said, being set in the city, you could do a lot more with this. And Stephen Hopkins actually did. One of the coolest images of this movie is when the Predator climbs atop a building and he has the skull of King Willie and he holds it up and lightning crashes behind him. And that I always thought should have been a cool movie poster. Should just say Predator 2 hunting, whatever year the movie was made. Yeah, very, very cool. Very much more amped than the original. And like I said, this special edition is very, very cool if you can find it. But what kills me is that, this film took everything from the first one and tried to make it bigger. And like I said, made it more violent. It was submitted to the MPAA about 3 or 4, maybe 5, 6 times to get cuts because it got an NC-17. And anybody who watches movies knows that an NC-17 is the dreaded cut. Because if you have an NC-17, that means your film is not marketable. But at the time, too, you guys got to remember that home video, going straight to home video, would have got a not rated. And it probably wouldn't have been picked up. Now, if it did go directly to video, I'm going to just contradict myself here. It probably would have gained a hell of an audience. But it wouldn't have had the notoriety it would be. And I do not think that Danny Glover would make an unrated film because mostly mainstream actors don't really do that. It's your, amateur up-and-comer guys that do that. Now, I could be wrong about that too, but that's just the way I would see things. But like I said, everybody kind of criticized the film for not having a very good story, but having Danny Glover's character pretty much carry the entire film. Yeah, any review that you read from this film trashed the film's creativity, but it said Glover's performance is a standout, making him a star. And this came off the heels of Lethal Weapon and a few other films that he has done. So, the only other thing that I think people were very upset about is at the end of the movie, at the end of the first film, they kind of wanted to see Schwarzenegger go at it again with this thing. And like I said, in the original script, it was going to be Patrick Swayze playing the role of Mike Harrigan. Now, a lot of people like Patrick Swayze. I've only seen Roadhouse. I've never seen Dirty Dancing. I've never seen any of that. My wife will tell you, but I have not. I think it would have been a whole different movie with Patrick Swayze and Arnold Schwarzenegger. That would have been cool to see. A cop and a mercenary hunting down the Predator in LA. It's great. Like I said, the gore is really amped up. There's tons of shootouts. There's slashings, maulings. I think the Predator even gets his arm cut off in this film. It's been a couple years since I actually watched this. Now, I did remember, like I told you guys in the last review, there was a Sega Genesis game that was Predator 2, where you did take control of Mike Harrigan, and it was an over-the-top sort of shooter where you chased a Predator, and you chased him from, LA, the streets of LA, to the subway, to the Predator ship, and a couple other places. Warehouse, I think, was one. It was only like an 8-board game. And I can remember that the password, because each level you cleared, you got a password, was Total Body. And I do remember that. Predator 2, in my opinion, is a very, very solid film. And the fact that it got trashed and it got a cult reputation made it only that much more appealing. If anybody out there has not seen the Predator movies 1 and 2, you guys need to check those out. And a lot of the younger people just know Predator from Alien Predator, which is a movie that came later that is dismal and garbage. But Dark Horse Comics for years have been putting the Predator in the same universe as the Alien or vice versa. So fans of the franchises knew that something big was going to happen. Plus, they were both put out by 20th Century Fox. 20th Century Fox put the Alien films out. They also put the Predator films out. So it was kind of like when New Line Cinema acquired Friday the 13th. You knew Freddy and Jason were going to go at it. But you also knew, too, that if you paid attention, that the Alien and Predator would be included in one movie, and that would be a mega dream, right? Not the first film. No. Not the first film. The second film I have not seen. I will have to definitely check it out. But an official Predator 3 did not happen. It turned into Predators, and it turned into Alien vs. Predator, Alien vs. Predator Requiem, then Predators with Adrian Brody, and then Prey. Prey was on Hulu. Prey was a cool movie because it harkened back to actually the first film in some ways. But we'll get into that at some point. But Predator 2 was a very, very cool movie. It just, when it opened, did not get the respect it deserved. And it went against Rocky IV, and it went against Home Alone, which did put it at number 4. And you got to figure, I can tell you from experience that, an R-rated film opens, with the exception of Terrifier, right? Terrifier 3, which had opened not too long ago. I can tell you that if a kid's movie opens and it is as big as Home Alone, nothing is going to top it. Nothing. So it did get knocked down. And like I said, it opened the same year that Rocky V opened with Tommy Morrison. The late Tommy Morrison was in that film. And I remember watching that thinking it was the greatest thing. And then, older reading the reviews about Rocky V and going, yeah, this didn't hit the mark, but I understand why Sylvester wanted to make that film. Stallone is notorious, on the sidebar, Stallone is notorious for, really extending his character stories. Rambo, there's a new Rambo movie coming out. You have Rocky, a lot of things. The Expendables 5, I think, is in production. Just like, whoa, buddy. Also, on the sidebar, too, before I forget, I just did the review for VHS Beyond. Now, I did read this morning, which is really cool. Shudder is next year going to produce a VHS S8. So I cannot wait to review that. I've reviewed every single VHS entry in the franchise, so I cannot wait to enter this one. And the one I just reviewed, guys, was pretty awesome. But yeah, definitely Predator 2. Check it out. It's a pretty interesting movie. I mean, it's got everything. It's got your action. It's got your sci-fi. It's got your little bit of blood and gore from a slasher film. It's got performances that are really cool. Like I said, from Danny Glover. Gary Busey always plays one of those crazy out there cats, and he does great. I just cannot for the life of me think of the characters' names right now. But it's fun seeing Gary Busey just go nuts. And the few scenes that he's in his warehouse where he's hunting this predator, he's definitely a certifiable out there cat. Definitely neat. And like I said, Maria Conchita Alonso, she was huge back in the 80s and 90s. Most notably the 90s. Ruben Blades was a very cool cat too. He always plays these supporting cop roles or supporting, sidekick roles. Very, very awesome dude. But yeah, a lot of the things that hindered the production of Predator 2 was the fact that what Stephen Hopkins wanted from this film, the budget wasn't there, or it was just undoable because of the special effects that were available at that time. And it kind of hindered the performance. I mean, like I said, the guy was a real young filmmaker, and he wanted to do all this stuff. He wanted to have stuff blowing up in every frame. He wanted to have, the Predator become this super duper dude. Basically, anything a 5-year-old who saw the first film, which I don't recommend 5-year-olds seeing the first film, but let's just say that you saw the first film. Put your mindset at like a 10 or 15-year-old and going for a sequel. That's basically what was in his head at that time. But Predator 2, very, very cool. And Josh, I hope you liked the review. If you haven't checked it out, like I said, definitely check out the special edition. The bonus stuff alone is just cool. And there's a lot to learn in there. Peace.